Hello, welcome to the analyzing video of classroom practice to understand UDL online learning strand. This is Module 6. Module 6 returns us to the goal of universal design for learning. We use universal design for learning as a framework when designing learning because we know that when we intentionally design learning to build the expert learning skills of learners, learners fare better in the world. Gone are the days when being a good student is enough. We know that being purposeful and motivated, strategic and goal-directed, resourceful and knowledgeable are lifelong learning skills that will serve learners well in the years to come. Module 6 continues the work of every module. We continue to view and analyze video as a means for learning. And there will be resources in this module provided for deeper learning about expert learning. Just as a reminder, because I know that you're familiar with the term, these are the characteristics of an expert learner. And as you look at the colors of this chart and the colors of the guidelines, please don't not notice the correlation between the design pieces of the framework and the design outcomes that we see in learners. If you look at the bottom of the engagement principle in the UDL framework, you see those words purposeful and motivated. And so the framework is organized as if to say, if you do this stuff, right, you will support learners through your design to be purposeful and motivated. What does that really look like? And then here on this sheet are the characteristics of what purposeful and motivated looks like in a learner. And that holds true for the other principles as well. It's really important when we think about universal design for learning that we hold a growth mindset, that we leave prejudice at the door, that we undo habits of thinking about learners as having labels, and really see, truly believe that every learner, every single learner can become an expert learner. If you click on the word listen, you'll be able to hear this little girl speak about what the UDL framework sounds like from the perspective of a learner. I'll also put this link in the Moodle section so that you can listen to this short 2-minute audio independently if you like to. This is the text of what she says. Bringing learner voices into this conversation about design. It's just so important, I think. Like every module that has come before, you have options for designing and planning your own learning during this hour. You can use the video, reflect, and then respond as a team to a question, those 3 gray boxes in the middle. You might choose instead to engage with the independent learning option or to go deeper with one of the resources. You might use your own time to work on some curriculum using the Learning Designer, or maybe something else. The independent learning option for this module is really just a reflective time for you to study the relationship between the UDL guidelines and the expert learning characteristics. Maybe something I just said in the beginning of this module made you have a connection and you want to just really think about what did she mean when Susan said that the engagement characteristics are really going to be outcomes of the design options that are identified in the guidelines under engagement on the UDL framework. So this is an option for you during this time if you want to just run off and think about the relationship between the guidelines and the expert learner characteristics in any way you want to. Please feel free. Or if you want to just dive into lots and lots of content and resources, links and video clips and text about expert learning from the book UDL Theory and Practice, feel free to use this link to go to chapter 2, which is titled Expert Learning. When we look at video later in this module, you will have the option of using the Looking for UDL protocol. For someone new joining your team, this may be a great option. If you yourself feel like you want to review those components, those basic pieces of the Universal Design for Learning framework by looking at classroom practice, please feel free to use this option. Certainly circling back to some of the tools that we've used in the beginning makes for great learning. But I'll nudge many of you to, if you haven't yet, use the Looking for Expert Learning protocol. You'll see that it's framed similarly to the Looking for UDL protocol. And if you have been participating in instructional rounds this year, you'll notice that some of the questions are quite similar to the template we use for observation in our own schools and classrooms. This is the last module that you will use this library of videos to choose from. Starting in Module 7 and continuing through 8 and 9, we will be using video of your own classroom practice whenever possible. We will always provide an option for you to have a video that's not yours if there are barriers to that happening. But we hope by this point in the year, you'll be able to do some design work collaboratively and to use video of your own starting in Module 7. But for this module, feel free to pick one of the videos you haven't seen yet. Perhaps you'll look at something at the high school level, even if you're a middle school teacher, or elementary if you're a high school teacher, so that you can really see those design features and those expert learner characteristics in action. After you watch the video, please pause the slides and use the observation protocol as a guide to your conversation. Share your observations, share your ahas about expert learning, share with each other what you noticed, what you saw, what you wondered about in terms of the learner behaviors. How were learners purposeful and motivated? How were they resourceful and knowledgeable? How were they strategic and goal-directed? And when you come back, there's a 3-minute video of David Rose, one of the founders of the UDL framework, on the next slide. And he describes the organization of the guidelines. I suspect it's a description that you've read about or heard about or even just kind of intuitively come to understand. But as you come to know expert learning more deeply, I think it's one of those pieces of information that is kind of wonderful to go back to, because I suspect as you hear David describe the organization of the guidelines, it will make lots more sense to you, at least I hope it does, at this point in our learning. After you hear David Rose speak, discuss your thoughts as a team. What did he say? And then write one great question that you really want an answer to. I'll do my best to get it to David Rose, or at least somebody to the CAS team, so you have multiple responses to your questions. Please upload your team's question to Moodle, and I promise you will get a response. Here's the video of David. This is also going to be linked in Moodle so that you can access it directly there. Again, it's just 3 minutes long. And if you are a keen observer, you'll notice that the color order is different on the guidelines that David's pointing to than it is today. And that's because even the UDL framework and the design of it is an iterative process. And in the last iteration, the engagement principle moved way over to the left. It's not to say that the guidelines are sequential and that you have to start with engagement and then move to representation and then move to action and expression. But it was believed that we really want to focus first on engagement, because without engagement, nothing else really makes a difference. As always, questions, thoughts, great stories, please feel free to send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, I will wish you well a happy spring vacation for those of you who are doing that this week. And I will see you in Module 7.